Think of the map of our country. We picture this: 48 states all smushed together, with 2 more hovering out there in the Pacific. But if you're one of the 2 Americans currently running to be president of all the states on that map, right now you're not really thinking much about the vast majority of them, because only 4 months out from Election Day, your version of the U.S. map looks a lot like this. This is a map of the battleground states in the presidential election, and if you didn't see your state highlighted on that map, hate to break it to you, because your vote's not going to matter much in determining the outcome of the election. The candidates, they already know that by Election Day, you'll be sure bet, and that you're going to give up your electoral votes in a direction they can already predict. But if you're one of those states in yellow, congratulations, you're the girl everyone wants to take to prom. Except instead of a fancy limo and a tailor-made tux, your guy is showing up in a big old bus with a tailor-made campaign message just for you. That's how President Obama spent Thursday and Friday of this week, road tripping across the Rust Belt. He was trying to convince the perennial purple states of Ohio and Pennsylvania to wear a blue dress to the big dance come November. And to make his case, he's singing a song he wrote just for you. Goes a little something like this.
When some were saying, let's let Detroit go bankrupt, I said, let's bet on the American worker. Let's stop giving tax breaks to companies that are shipping jobs overseas. Let's give them to companies that are investing right here in the United States of America.
Music to the ears of the white working class voters who comprise more than half the electorate in states like Ohio, and whose approval must be given to anyone looking to rent the spot at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for 4 years. Now, Mitt Romney, hoping that he would like to tie break that election in his own direction, made his own advances on battleground territory last month and hopped on board, that's right, a bus, for a 5-state tour through small-town USA. This weekend, he's putting aside all those newfangled high-tech approaches to campaigning by reaching out to voters with the original social media, the telephone, and even more ancient, face-to-face conversation. Yesterday, volunteers in New Hampshire and other battlegrounds spent their day working the phones and going door to door to mobilize voters to turn out for the governor on Election Day. And neither Barack Obama nor Mitt Romney is a cheap date. Since May, they've blitzed the airwaves with more than $20 million worth of political ads just in Ohio alone. Now, pay attention, battleground states, because these guys are pulling out all the stops just for you. So this is where I play the Uncle Ben to your Spider-Man and remind you of this: with great power comes great responsibility. Like it or not, you are the chosen ones and the choosers. You are picking the president for the rest of us. So that means you don't have the luxury of political apathy. We, those of us who live in the all too predictable ballot box behavior states, are counting on you to get it right. First of all, don't be fooled by the optics that are meant to signal the candidates understand the lives of so-called ordinary people. You know, like buses with folksy tour names. Rich guys pretending they ride the bus is not a signal that they understand your lives. Neither is rolling up their sleeves or leaving their neckties at home or eating pancakes or drinking a beer. You know how politicians show you they can relate to your lives? By creating policies that make your life better. So pay attention, swing staters, to what they're saying to you, not just what they're showing you. And numbers like these, totally unacceptable. This is from a Pew poll that found that 45% of Americans are completely clueless about the Supreme Court's landmark decision on Affordable Care Act. Listen, if it's your vote that determines whether or not the rest of us get health care, swing states, I'm gonna need you to do a little better. And finally, please, don't let the constant reminders that you are in a battleground state fool you into believing that you are in an actual battle. Leave the fighting and the delineation of differences to the 2 men vying to be the last man standing at the Capitol steps on Inauguration Day. Whatever the names and colors on the yard signs in your neighborhood may say, you and the person next door to you are more alike than you are different. We are all in this boat together, and you are our captains. So show us what democracy in action really looks like. And if you need an example, try turning to one of our most famous fictional small-town Americans, Sheriff Andy Taylor, whose creator, Andy Griffith, we lost this past week. In a recent article for The All, writer Shawnee O. Hilton relayed her father's take on Mayberry's finest when he told her, quote, "I never looked at Andy as being too good for the others. I looked at him as being a stabilizer, a good soul who wanted to elevate those around him." So take note, battlegrounders. In this election, it's going to be on all of you good souls to lift up all the rest of us. Joining me now, Democratic Representative Barbara Lee of California, former Pennsylvania governor and now MSNBC political analyst Ed Rendell, Anthea Butler, religious studies professor at the University of Pennsylvania, and MSNBC contributor Ari Melber. Thanks to everybody for being here.
Morning.
So we've got two Pennsylvania swing staters here. You all are living in the battleground. I just made a claim that I need the battleground folks to take that job seriously.
Yeah.
Do they? When you look at voters in Pennsylvania, do you feel like folks are aware of how important their vote is and taking it seriously?
Yes, they do. As a matter of fact, a lot of them are worried because some of them won't be able to vote because of the change in the voter ID laws. And I believe in just a recent survey in Philadelphia, that may mean 44% of African Americans. And that is very troubling because this is part of the base that would want to come out for President Obama. So I think in Pennsylvania, we take it very seriously. He was already in Pittsburgh this past couple of days, and I think we're going to see a lot of the president, and we'll probably see a lot of Mitt Romney as well, trying to pull those votes, although I will think that maybe the places that Mitt Romney will go will be very different than the places that President Obama will go.
Maybe. Governor, will you walk me through Pennsylvania a little bit? I've got a map of Pennsylvania, and I just want to look at it a little bit. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I don't have a map of Pennsylvania, but you know Pennsylvania in your head. So walk me through it just a bit. Sort of, what are the parts of the state that are likely to get the most attention from these candidates?
Well, before I do that, I want to emphasize what you just said.
Yeah.
A recent study by the Secretary of State showed that 9.2% of our electorate does not have photo ID.
Yep.
That's shocking. We're doing all we can to get those people photo ID, but it's very, very difficult.
Yes.
The law is brutal. A Republican representative 10 days ago at the Republican State Convention said, see, we've done the job. This is going to ensure Mitt Romney becomes president. Which reveals the motivation behind this. It's terrible.
Right, that it's not about voter fraud, that it's about changing the outcome.
There was never any voter fraud during my 8 years as governor, and we had two very contentious presidential elections. Look, Pennsylvania comes down to basically two parts of the state.
Right.
There are two battlegrounds, if you talk about battlegrounds.
Right.
One is the Philadelphia suburbs. That's where Democrats have been winning the last 5 presidential elections. We used to lose the Philadelphia suburbs big, win Philadelphia bigger, but the Philadelphia suburbs was the key battleground. In the last 5 elections, Democrats have made inroads, and in the last 3, our candidates carried the Philadelphia suburbs. They used to be heavy Republican registration. Now they're still Republican overall, but not nearly as heavy.
Right.
Mitt Romney, the old Mitt Romney, would have been a great candidate in the Philadelphia suburbs.
Right, the governor Romney, right? Massachusetts.
The question is, has he gone so far to the right that he's lost a chance to get those moderate Republicans and moderate independents in the Philly suburbs?
Yep.
But then go across the state to the 12 southwestern Pennsylvania counties, traditionally Democrat, white working class. When President Obama carried Pennsylvania by 11 points, he lost 11 of those 12 counties. Now, he's got to do better there because his margin in the Philadelphia suburbs are going down. But he's got the ammunition, infrastructure, manufacturing, the auto bailout. Those are things that should be music to the ears of those voters.
And Ari, let me bring you in on exactly that, because I'm wondering, we talked about optics, but also this information. So, here are the sort of items that ought to be music to the ears. When you're thinking about the actual strategy here, is it let me show you something, or is it let me tell you something?
I think it's a lot of telling, and I think you saw that in some of the first sort of documentary-style videos that the campaign put out. They said, remember what it was like. Look at the trend lines. Yes, we're stuck right now at 8.2% unemployment, but it was a lot higher. And we did do these bailouts that worked, even if you heard otherwise. And as you just had up on the screen, the Pew poll shows that 45% of the country doesn't know what happened in what is one of the biggest Supreme Court cases literally since the New Deal. So yes. I mean, right? Yes. It's we can pause and not speak because it leaves you speechless. But what does that mean? It means that somewhere along the line, the media is breaking down. Even, I would argue, certain social, ways that information is shared is breaking down. And the most interesting part about that Pew poll you showed was the next number, which is out of just the universe of people who know correctly what the Supreme Court did, a majority now supports the decision. So part of that is just getting the information out so that universe enlarges.
Congressman, I want to bring you in as soon as we come back from the break, because the other piece of this, it seems to me, is the kind of pressing of the flesh, the old-fashioned phone banking, and it feels to me like no one knows better that kind of thing than people who are members of Congress, how important that is on the advertising. So we'll talk more about that. And also the fact that the battle lines divide in some interesting ways when you throw race, ethnicity, language into the equation. And later, how come running for office is still so hard for women? Also in our next hour, is the GOP playing Jedi mind tricks on all of us? Don't go away.